introduce everyone to Mike Kirk. He's Senior Vice President of Strategic Valuation at the Accurate Group. And Angela Ahn, she is a UI UX designer here at LendingQB. And so again, the title of our webinar today is Streamlining the Appraisal Process, How to Improve Efficiency and Visibility. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand this off to Mike. He's going to share some information about the Accurate Group. And then he will be handing it off to Angela. And Angela, again, will be showing a quick demonstration of some new features that we've implemented in regards to appraisal and appraisal tracking within LendingQB. So at this time, I'm going to hand this over to Mike. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Len. I'd like to thank Len and the entire LendingQB for their partnership on this, and also thank each and every one of you for participating today. I wanted to give a quick introduction to the Accurate Group. The Accurate Group is a nationwide appraisal, title, and closing solutions provider, which utilizes the latest technology to streamline workflows for all of our clients. I'd like to talk about some of the challenges that are facing the industry today. And just getting the slides moved forward, I apologize. So it's no secret that appraisal turn times have been exploding lately, especially the crunch that we saw last year. As you know, extended turn times create lost opportunity and negative borrower experience, in addition to contributing to increased fallout rates as app close times lengthen. While the home equity industry does not uniformly track appraisal turn time data, the Strathmore Lender Survey from October of 2016 shows that turn times increased 80% year over year for mortgage loans. So the next slide, we're going to show some of the national averages for turn times in 2016. For Fannie Mae 1004s, that was slightly over 18 calendar days. As you can see, for the 2055 exterior, 13.26 days. The next slide, we're going to talk about layered on top of this turn time issue, we also have this challenge of appraisal costs exploding as well. Appraisal fees increased 16% over the prior year. 34% of appraisers increased fees year over year as well. Many AMCs actually have to absorb those fees due to fixed contracts. And believe it or not, the Veterans Administration fee schedule actually increases costs for home equity loans. Some of the reasons for that is because the VA fees emerged as customary and reasonable in states like Virginia and North Carolina. Other states also adopt the survey as the presumption of compliance. The scope of the cost issue continues to grow. This table actually shows the average. Now remember, this is just the average, so obviously we saw a lot higher costs in some regions, but the typical 1004 came in right at $480. A 2055 exterior was not far behind at $410. One particular thing I'd like to point out on this slide is that the desktop appraisal interior was at around $280, which is $200 less than the typical 1004. We're actually going to talk about the desktop interiors as an alternative here in a few moments, but I wanted to point out that difference. The next slide that we're going to talk about here is the appraiser shortage, which is contributing obviously to the rising costs and extended turn times. The 2017 stats shows that 76,000 actual appraisers are down from 98,000 back in 2007. A recent survey of state appraiser regulators reported that a continuing annual decline of 4.5% to 7%. So this problem is obviously compounding year over year. The GSEs report that there's actually only 40,000 unique appraiser credentials for mortgage transactions over the past 5 years. So while we show that we have 76,000 appraisers, a lot of those are either not active or they're being double counted between the folks that hold multiple state licenses. The cost of entry into this profession is extremely high. You now have to have a 4-year degree, plus there's a 2-year apprenticeship. That's simply driving a lot of students that would typically go into something like this into other careers that maybe have an easier entry or offer a little more money as a starting salary. The next slide, we're going to talk about this appraiser shortage kind of in graph format, showing you in red what the active license looks like over the past several years, in addition to the decline of the actual number of appraisers. So you can visually see what's kind of happening since 2006. The other thing that we're concerned about is the speed of decrease accelerating due to the aging of the appraiser population. We actually have a polling question for this next slide. The question is coming up now that you can actually click on. What appraisal let me start over. What appraisal issue impacted you the most in 2016? Was it appraisal turn times, appraisal expense increases, lack of available appraisers, or none of the above? We're going to pause here for just a minute. And Lynn, if you're seeing any results coming up in the next, say, 20 seconds, we'll get that answer out to everybody.
Okay, I'm going to close this in about 10 seconds, so everyone get your answers in. All right, very good.
Okay, turn times leads the by 63%, and obviously lack of available appraisers. So it looks like everybody's experiencing some issue with one of those 3 items. So let's talk about some best practices for some of the challenges that we just laid out today. The first solution that we recommend in order to help with this is to ensure that the borrower knows the type of appraisal that will be conducted. It sounds simple, but a lot of folks miss this. You want to let them know if it's going to be a 1004 with a full walkthrough, if it's going to be a drive-by 2055 or some other type of desktop or hybrid product. We see a lot of confusion in the marketplace from the borrower, which then slows down the process. The second item is to assist the borrower to schedule that appointment. Borrower delays impact the turnaround time, especially in home equity, but in all files and all transactions. You want to order the appraisal as soon as you get the application submitted. Obviously, unless it fails initial credit review, the LendingQB Accurate Group integration enables this. And then also, don't wait until the income is verified on the application to order the appraisal in areas with extended turn times. That'll just help you continue to keep that file moving. To continue this, we also mentioned that you want to identify complex properties or assignments at application. That will save you a lot of time as well on the front end. And remember that in-house review teams add time to the process. So you want to learn about your AMC's QC process and work together, which leads me to my next point, to ensure that your AMCs are reviewing based on your guidelines. You can set up a risk-based review, and you can base that on CU scores or credit guidelines. You can create buckets for non-technical review versus technical. Another huge time saver is to track revision reasons and train on those reoccurring issues. And you can actually train the individual appraisers. If you have a panel, you can work with your AMCs to work through those issues, as well as even the review team. You want to ensure that all parties to the deal understand the product nuances in advance. And an example of that would be the type of inspection being done again, or the inspector that's actually going to be going out there if it's a desktop, for example. Utilize e-delivery for Reg B if allowed on all appraisal types. It's okay to be picky about your AMC. You want to choose an AMC that will build custom appraisal panels for your footprint. The AMC should introduce the borrower to the appraiser handling the assignment in advance. They should assign based on proximity, and they should be scorecarding their appraisers for performance and quality. For compliance reasons, the AMC should document who they used on that assignment at the time of assignment. They should obviously pay customer and reasonable fees and pay in a timely manner. AMCs or management platforms should track the turn time and revision rates. And you should coach the AMC or appraisers on review rules to minimize revisions. And once again, scorecarding is important, not just of your appraisers, but also your AMCs to determine your best performers. You want to be able to leverage technology innovations as well. Take advantage of LendingQB integration with the Actor Group. Do business with AMCs who have market-leading technology. Also consider technology-enabled appraisal alternatives to traditional methods. Our partnership with LendingQB allows you to order and monitor your appraisals directly from the LendingQB LOS user interface. LendingQB LOS seamlessly shares data with the Actor Group appraisal management system, and our system automates the entire process, minimizing bottlenecks, lowering cost, reducing turn times, all while improving quality. So the traditional appraisal methods are very inefficient, and they do create bottlenecks, meaning that the appraiser has to run out to inspect every property, drive by the comparables, and there just are more efficient ways to go about that, which we will talk about. You don't want to shy away from some of these proven alternatives. There's various products that relieve pressure on appraisers, improve turn time, reduce revisions, and cost. One of those products that I would like to highlight today is ValueNet. ValueNet is the #1 desktop appraisal technology, which has actually been in existence for about 18 years now. It can actually be ordered with an exterior inspection or an interior inspection. With the exterior, it's a USPAP compliant. It competes well with the 2055, and on the interior inspection, it has a full walkthrough, also is USPAP compliant, and can replace the Fannie Mae 1004 appraisals on all loan amounts. So it's compliant with FIREA over the $250,000 threshold. ValueNet appraisal method leverages crowdsourcing and desktop technology, and to go into that a little bit here, the local expert on the crowdsourcing side collects the subject property data, obtains photographs, and on interior assignments also measures the subject property. At the same time, the local appraiser researches the subject and cell data, and along with that physical inspection report, produces an appraisal report that is on par with a traditional Fannie Mae 1004 appraisal. The next slide, we're going to talk about Why Accurate Group and LendingQB? There's a seamless integration and process automation which delivers efficiency. It eliminates the gaps and bottlenecks that slow down the appraisal delivery. Provides on-demand visibility into the entire appraisal status. Delivers online audit trail and data capture for better compliance. And it combines two of the most innovative mortgage technology solutions to give you a strategic advantage. I would now like to hand this over to Angela from LendingQB that's going to go over the appraisal dashboard. Angela?
Yes. Could you give me the presentation? Awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela, and I'm a UX UI designer at LendingQB. Today, I wanted to share a couple of features that enhance the appraisal ordering process that I worked on for our April release. These features leverage the existing seamless appraisal integration between LendingQB and Accurate Group, helping users increase efficiency and decrease time spent on using external tools to complete the appraisal process. The first feature that I wanted to share is the appraisal tracking feature. This is accessible inside the loan file and is located in the status folder. So right here. This feature is especially useful if you're using the appraisal integration to place orders within LendingQB. However, even if you do not use the integration, you can utilize this page to store appraisal data in LendingQB. For this presentation, I placed a test order with Accurate Group, as you can see on this order appraisals page. And as you might be familiar, we have this page, the order appraisals page, where the order data gets stored. In addition to this page, we have the general page. Down below here in the appraisal section, where we keep track of the appraisal data on the loan level, and as well as the subject property details page in the appraisal section, where some other information gets stored. Issues that I saw with how the data gets stored and tracked were that one, that there are many different pages that the user needs to navigate through to track the data, and two, that the system didn't allow for entering multiple order data. In order to solve these issues, I created the appraisal tracking page, which you can see here. This page allows users to track multiple orders and contains all of the relevant appraisal information. Users can go to this page and check on the order status. You can see right here. And use the data here to update the general page, which contains the loan level appraisal data. And this page gets updated just like the order appraisals page when the order is placed within LendingQB and the data gets sent back from the appraisal vendors. It's exactly like the order appraisals page, except that everything is tracked on an order level. So I'll describe a little bit more about this page. The important dates section contains the dates that are pertaining to the loan level, so any important dates that the user needs to track. So those are at the top. And bottom here is the order information section, and that describes the specific order that the user has placed within LendingQB. So this section gets populated from the appraisal integration. So for example, the product name gets populated here, file number, which is the order number, as well as the vendor name that gets populated here. Some key features that I would like to highlight is this progress bar. You can enter specific dates that you are tracking, and that'll update the progress bar so that it's easier to see right when you get to the page where the order is currently at. Additionally, you can click this Add button to create a new section, and this is specifically for orders that are not placed within LendingQB. I wanted to make it so that the users can not only track orders that are placed in LendingQB through the appraisal integration, but also the orders that are placed outside of LendingQB so that the users can track all of the relevant appraisal information within the LOS. And another feature that we've added for this release is the bidirectional communication feature. This allows users to contact the appraisal vendors inside LendingQB, preventing users from having to go back and forth between the LOS and the communication tool, like the user's personal email. Users get notified when a new message comes in from the vendors, and they can reply to the messages inside LendingQB. So once the communication feature is enabled for the specific appraisal vendor, you will see this message link under the actions link. So once you click on that, you should be able to see all of the messages that occurred between the user and the appraisal vendor. So here you can see the first message, the second message, etc. The new messages will have this red notification area so that you know that there are new messages that have come in. You can either reply to the existing message and select which one the message should be directed to, or you can create a new message and write an entire new message to the vendor to initiate the communication. One thing to note is that this feature is implementation complete on LendingQB side, but it also requires the appraisal vendor to complete integration in order for the two-way communication to occur. LendingQB already communicated with Accurate Group regarding this feature, and Accurate Group will be sharing their roadmap for completing the implementation so that users can begin using this feature. Corinne, did you want to share the roadmap on Accurate Group side?
This is Mike. I can share that, Angela. So, but yes, it is on our roadmap, and it's pretty straightforward implementation. It's more about just the timing of this, and so the feature will be implemented by June 19th is the latest, and we're working to get that a little sooner if possible.
Awesome. So once that's completed, users can go into the loan file, click on this message side, and communicate directly to Accurate Group instead of having to use their personal email. So these are the features that we created to leverage the appraisal integration and to increase efficiency and decrease the time that the user has to spend navigating through the different softwares and tools in order to complete the appraisal process. Now I will turn it back to Corinne.
All right, terrific. Well, that's really great. So, well, actually, we got through this quite quickly, and we do have a few questions. But I'm actually kind of curious, Mike, from your side. It's always interesting for us to see how our vendors, view the types of integrations that we're doing. I mean, obviously, the integration that we've done with Accurate Group allows these orders to take place. But as you can see within an LOS environment, it's intended to be lights out, right? Where basically, you as the appraisal company are essentially, invisible except through the lens of our UI. Do you have any sort of comments in terms of the way that we're presenting the ordering and the tracking of appraisals within our LOS?
I can just speak from some of my experience. I didn't really give a lot of background, but I actually spent most of my career on the lending side, and so to be able to have that visibility right from the LOS and not have to move around into multiple systems is unique and actually extremely helpful. From our side, speaking from the Accurate Group, we think it's great because the end customer, again, has that visibility as well as the way our systems share data and information. We actually are able to provide a better update back, again, in a seamless operation. So yeah, we're extremely excited about that and very happy to partner with you guys.
Okay, that's great. Angela, there actually are a couple of questions that pertain to what you had shown. So one question is, will the information entered on the appraisal tracking page populate to the other pages in the loan?
That is currently scheduled for the phase 2 of the appraisal tracking feature. Currently, our first goal was to add this page where a more granular data on the loan level or on the order level can be tracked. But our next step to increase or enhance this feature is to populate the other pages, calculate the fields that are on the loan level from the underlying data that we are now collecting on the appraisal tracking page.
All right, terrific. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Christine, because I see you. Veronica's asking, what AMCs other than Accurate Group are integrated with the current message feature. Actually, we'll take that. We'll answer that question offline, Veronica, if you don't mind. Okay. Christine has another question in regards to the fields. Can you explain the fields on the appraisal tracking page and the logic behind some of the population?
Sure. It's very similar to the order appraisals page. So when you place the order, then some fields such as the product name, the file number, and status gets automatically set as unassigned. And the order dates as well as needed date, those are the dates that get populated. Also, if you've included any attachments in the order, then you'll also see those documents under the documents section right here. And then once the vendor, here it would be the Accurate Group, once they start sending different status, that will get updated right here. And when you click View Order, it's basically the same exact order PDF that you would see on the order appraisals page, where it basically details all of the order information, AMC information.
Oh, actually, hold on. Let me change. Let me change it so that people can actually see what you're doing.
Oh. That. It's probably good. Okay.
Sorry.
Just repeat. No worries. Yeah. So again, the product name is right here, file number right here, status gets updated here, order date, needed date. Those will be populated once the order is placed. Some other dates up here, the intent to proceed date, it's basically the same date field that's on the general page. So if that's been populated on the general page, that will be right here. The borrower consent to receive electronic copy date, waiver form date, and then the appraisal delivery due date. These are new dates that we've added. One thing that's special about this date is that it pulls from the closing date unless the waiver form received date is filled out. So if that's filled out, then that'll update the delivery due date to 3 days after, or that'll remove the 3-day requirement. But you can also lock and change the date manually. The borrower consent to receive date, if that date is filled out, then you will see that the method of delivery will have email option. But if that's not filled out, then it will not have that date or that option. Additional date fields that I could explain. Receive date, that will get populated once the status has been changed to completed and the vendor sends us back the date of completion. So that date will be populated, and that will also populate the order completed section in the progress bar. Added the notes section in case there are some dates additional dates and information that you wanted to keep track of. You can keep track of that here currently. Once the borrower received date gets filled out, not the borrower received date, the send to borrower date gets filled out, send to borrower section of the progress bar will be filled. And additionally, this entire section, except for the appraisal form type, will get auto-populated once the data gets sent back from the AMC. But if you have added a section manually, then none of these fields will be auto-populated because these are this is a manual order that you placed outside of LendingQB, so you will need to manually type that in down below.
Okay. Wow, that's really thorough. Good job. Let me see what other questions we have here. Oh, this is a good one. So Christine is asking, can you actually report off of these fields? Are these fields included in our reporting module?
Not the fields on the order level, and that's why we're working on updating the general page because those fields are reportable. So we're working on that for the next phase. But we still do track. So right now, the feature that we've added is to be able to track the appraisal data on the order level. So these fields will be like the underlying information that you can use to make sure that the loan level data on the general page is correct.
Okay, so actually Anna has an interesting question here. She's asking, are there any pre-built restrictions for users to place orders if the borrower has not completed the intent to proceed? And similarly, how can LendingQB ensure that the loan officer is not communicating with the appraisers?
I do not have the answer to the second question, but for the first question, I believe the intent to proceed date is needed to charge the borrower for the appraisal fee. So there is not a restriction for actually just placing the order within LendingQB.
Okay, so I think, so it sounds like that, some of our clients are going to want to enable some of these fields or, to be available within workflow rules.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the case? Are these fields are going to be available, or can you build workflow rules off of these fields right now?
You can off of the general page, the loan level fields, but not the order level field.
Not the order level. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I do have a handout that lists out all the fields that are reportable and are available for workflow, so I can send that over after the webinar.
Yes, yes. And I think you also mentioned that you do have some documentation related to these features. So that documentation for all of our LendingQB clients, that documentation is available within our support center. So you'll have to kind of log in support center and search for it, or we can also email a copy of the documentation if you like. So if anyone does want that documentation, just please send an email to me, I guess, or Angela if you have her email address. But we can provide that information to you. Okay. Okay. And then a couple of other questions, and I think this is more along the lines for Mike. Are there loan types that are ideal for a desktop appraisal solution like ValueNet?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, any 1 to 4 family works well for the ValueNet desktop product. I can't speak to other companies' desktops, but for ours, anything 1 to 4 family. Obviously, complex properties such as property with 100 acres, things that are kind of unique are not necessarily the best for any desktop. But 1 to 4 family, including condos, work extremely well. And again, the value range doesn't matter as long as it's similar. So in other words, if you have $1 million property, in West Virginia, for example, around $300,000 properties, it may not be the best product. But if it's $1 million property with another $1 million type properties, that would not be an issue. So it works well across the country as long as it's not a complex or unique in some of those ways that I just mentioned. So that would be the the kind of the surface level answer, and be happy to get additional information. Again, we have 18 years of data, so we can tell you if we have coverage in an area or what property types may can be a consideration in a certain market if anybody would like that information.
How about home equity loans?
That is an area that is used pretty often. I'll just kind of talk about the typical workflow that we see, or I should say product matrix that we see in the home equity area. And so for the folks that are still utilizing AVMs, which is a smaller subset, but we see those utilized somewhere in the 20 to 30% range, meaning out of all of their home equity loans, up to about 30%, are typically done with an AVM. On the other side of that equation, we see 1004s being used about 20% of the time, and then that leaves that middle section of about 50% that are actually being done with a desktop, and that is broken down between the exterior and interior. And again, it just depends on the footprint, but it's safe to say that 30% of that volume is done typically with the exterior, around 20% with the interior. So that would get you up to 100% if you were at 30% AVM, 50% desktop, and then another 20% with the 1004. So that's the typical makeup that we see when using the value net.
Okay, and I think we'll go through a couple more questions. So relating to AMCs in general, can you elaborate on some of the best practices for scorecarding AMCs?
Sure. So there's many things that you can actually add to the scorecard, and of course a lot of it just depends on the items that you're able to track within your own system or within your own QC department, for example. But obviously, quality is a big piece of that. And when we say quality, I know at the different shops that I have worked at, we would score, each and every appraisal as it comes in, and we would give that an overall score. We would also track the revisions that go back, because obviously that can determine whether or not, there could be quality issues. And you want to separate those you want to separate those revision issues by whether or not it was something that the AMC could have caught during their QC process, or something that your own team went back for because parcel number or something on the title report didn't match, that the AMC would not necessarily have had the information during their QC process. And then what I started to say is turn time is obviously a consideration as well. And then a lot of folks want to put together some kind of a customer service. So when there is a dispute or there is an appeal or some kind of an issue, or just really anything borrower delay, any type of customer service, which typically comes out of the vendor management side of it, you want to track those things as well. And so typically what will happen is you'll take, any one of those components that I mentioned, plus anything else you'd like to track, put that within a scorecard. And, the main thing is tracking that monthly, and then comparing that against your if you have other providers, other AMCs in the mix. And what we would do is we would hide, obviously the name of the other company or companies that we were working with, and we would provide that information to each provider, blacking out the competitor's name and really showing them on a monthly basis how they were doing. And then we would hold partnership calls with them every other month to go over some of the details and kind of look at, any trending that may be happening within any of those scores. And so that's just, again, some of the examples. If anybody would like to, have additional information around that, I'd be happy to even send some examples of that as well.
All right, terrific, Mike. Thank you so much. So, I think what we were able to share today, has a lot of value for everyone. Obviously, we're very excited to partner with the Accurate Group and, have them be a part of the overall appraisal integration framework that we're presenting to all of our clients. And of course, we do obviously want to thank Angela a lot. I mean, she is the main driver and was the main designer behind all these features, especially the appraisal tracking feature. As you can see, it's a very robust set of features that she has designed. And given the data that Mike has presented to us in terms of the difficulties that we understand that lenders are having in terms of getting appraisal orders out and getting them fulfilled in a timely manner, you know, you know, together, with their technology and our technology and really the capabilities of, us partnering together to innovate on this, we're really trying to attack this problem from a different angle. Obviously, we don't have any control over, general industry trends in terms of, how many appraisers there are going to be or what the future of the appraisal industry is. But, to the extent that, we can preside and present to you guys as lenders, some possible solutions to streamline the process, that's what we're here to do. And of course, at the end of the day, we need to get the feedback from you guys as end users of these services and products. So we really thank you guys for joining us. Of course, I want to thank Mike for his presentation today and the team over at Accurate Group. I certainly want to thank Angela for taking time out of her busy day to share this information with you. And again, it's all about feedback. We are going to reach out to you, certainly give you links to the recording of this webinar. For any of you that wish to get documentation directly mailed to you, we can do that. We will also send over a copy of Mike's slide deck to everyone that registered for this webinar. So is anything else that anyone wants to add before we finish up this webinar? Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time this morning. We were able to get this done in a pretty decent amount of time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Mike or to Angela. I will make sure that everyone gets their contact information. So if nothing else, again, have a great day, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.